Good day, friends. Thank you for joining me for a moment. Here we are on the other side of the middle of Lent, and this Sunday has a wealth of riches in store. We hear from the Apostle Paul, which I think is really the essence, is really Paul's central message. If you identify that, we read in 2 Corinthians, if anyone is in Christ, there is a new creation. The old has passed away, all things new. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. Indeed, has made us ambassadors of reconciliation, of God's reconciliation, reconciling love and grace. Wow. There's an old hymn, living for Jesus through earth's little while, my dearest treasure, the light of his smile, seeking the lost ones he died to redeem, bringing the weary to find rest in him. Seeking the lost, bringing the weary to find rest, to find home, in the only place, the only person we can. We are his ambassadors of reconciling love. Gosh, what an image. What a reality. That parable, which I believe to be Jesus' greatest story because it's so full of grace, so full of astonishment, maybe even scandal, and how it proclaims the grace and love of God, how it reshapes our thoughts about what it means to sin and what it means to be lost, what it means to be found. I speak of that one in Luke 15, of course, often called the parable of the prodigal son, more accurately called the story of the prodigal God, of the prodigal father. Prodigal, of course, is spendthrift, just spending whatever is necessary and more for a reason. That son who left home was prodigal and did that literally with about a third of the family estate, found himself in a bad place, about to starve to death, and he comes to awareness just in a moment, the light bulb comes on. I love the translation, he came to himself. What a moment of clarity. So brutal, so wonderful. How many of my father's hired servants have food and enough to spare, all that they need and more. And here I am in the pig pen, in the pig slop. I know what I'll do. I'm going to go back home and I'm going to plead. Take me on as a hired hand. Well, there's so much more to the story than that. But with both that younger son who finds his way back and with the older brother who is spiritually lost in another way, working at home out in the fields. And both of those, this prodigal God, this prodigal father, what is his response to them in their lostness? He runs out to them in what literally would have been scandalous for any patriarch to do, to run after anybody, much less wayward sons, and bears their hurt, their loneliness, in the case of the older one, bears his anger, his resentment, and says, all that I have is yours. Come in. Come in. It is truly scandalous grace, but it's deeply tied to what we find, as Paul says, the grace of the new creation. Everything has become new, and it's become new because of what God has done in the outreaching love of God, who runs out to us, who pursues us. And through that act of gift, that grace, calls us to be agents of his reconciling love in the world. Wow, what a calling. What a truth. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting the message of grace and reconciliation to us. My friends, you are loved and called and chosen, ambassadors, ministers of grace and reconciliation. May God lead us this day and the next into that blessed life, into that party and celebration. See you next time May God bless.